What's up, hot sauce? Alicia Shepherd here with the Commercial Blueprint. And today I am diving in with my dear friend, Ty Martin. You guys, I can't wait for you to meet this young serial entrepreneur. He is not only proving that nightclubs suck and you should get out running your ass off instead, he is a serial leader of KW Commercial's National Tenant Rep Division. He has his own national leasing team and is the managing partner of the KWC National Advisors. Ty proves time and time again that an athlete's heart, spirit, and soul is the way to win. Ty, I'm glad to have you on today, man. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit.
What
Who
an
is Ty Martin?
intro. What an electric intro. I appreciate it, Alicia. You are also a dear friend of mine, a mentor and someone that I look up to massively, but also someone I'll call on a Tuesday to talk about the weather. So really appreciate this. Get to dive in a little bit about what's going on in my world and talk about yours as well.
I love it. Well, let's start with what I think is probably the most interesting part of what you have in all of the things I watch agents up to right now, and that's your run club. You can tell me the real name of it. Every time it comes up in my home, I call it Nightclub Suck. So what do you actually call it, and how did this start, and what do you aim for it to be?
That's it. It's nightclubs suck. I was just wearing the hat. I swapped hats for this. I should have kept it on, but it's something that started more as a community of run clubs and people that do run. But really, the vision with it and where we're about to go with it is a full-on clothing brand because we find that running brands are great, specifically running brands, but there's no brand really focused on the three disciplines of triathlon that's running, swimming, and biking. And we find that brands that are in some of those other spaces or try to play across all three are largely lame, largely not exactly the creative side that we would feel like maybe they're a little bit too much or a little bit too bland. We're trying to find something right in the middle of that. So it's a full-on brand, but we started it through a Friday night run club here locally to the Charlotte area of North Carolina, but now we're popping them up all around the country.
And so it's run clubs. I
Yep,
mean, you're a young guy under the age of 30.
30.
You are 30.
I am 30.
You are 30. Oh, how kind of me to call you young still. You are putting a flag in the sand, if you will, and picking on nightclub culture a little bit, saying
Yep.
nightclubs suck. Why take that stance with this?
For me, it started more as a casual, almost type of like joke as far as where the name came from. It wasn't something where like you said, I drew a crazy line in the sand, and said, if
Yeah.
you go to nightclubs and you're not one of us, the point was more, and we live this every day. We're not anti-party, we're just pro-growth. And where it really
I mean,
came
you're out running on a Friday night while other
yeah,
people
Friday
are
night,
like,
yes,
"Where's my Jaeger?" Yeah.
exactly. And you and I deal with the same issue with our voices. Quickly became sick of nightclubs years ago because I can't speak at that level. So if I'm for 3 minutes screaming, my voice is gone. So that was the first joke. Then I got myself sober. I don't drink anymore. That was a personal choice, not from anything bad happening or a bad decision. But as those two things kind of came together, that's where I came up with the brand idea. And I've always wanted to own a clothing brand, a fitness brand, because I find that a lot of these clothes don't fit right, they don't look right. And building a community and then also releasing a cool fashion brand is really the perfect intersect.
That's awesome. And you have agents running, and I say agents because you're a real estate agent. We'll come to that part next. Because I mean, for us, that's like the snooze fest. Of course, you're an agent. Everyone in my world's an agent. But okay, so you have agents running in what cities right now?
So right now we're just local to the Charlotte market. So we're here in Mooresville. We're actually in Charlotte. We're out east in Greenville, North Carolina, where East Carolina University is. We're actually working on Raleigh, which is in between those two markets. And then we'd like to get to the beach in Wilmington. But that being said, we already have a few, like what I would almost call like next launches in the Bay Area of California, down by you in Austin, up where I'm from in the Philadelphia, South Jersey market and South Florida. So we're starting to expand that thing out. Ironically, you called them agents, but a lot of our people are captains that are running these are KW agents, which is just an ironic coincidence more so than anything. It's just people that are young, fit, and have flexibility in their schedule.
I mean, it's part of what happens when you work with a really large real estate company. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a large network of networking people. Okay. So that's one area. Then I pivot and I look at I mean, you have a coffee company too, Bang Beans.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Then you have KWC National Advisors. Tell me about this. What is this in your group of guys there?
So our group is, I mean, first and foremost, I'm partnered with my best friend and best man, and that's something that I absolutely love, Angelo Beacon-Paglia. Just to work alongside someone that I've been so aligned with from a life perspective. We played lacrosse in college together, and we've always looked at the world kind of the same way. We were back in college, entering like the entrepreneurial challenges at Lynn University, where we went trying to come up with different products and ideas and businesses. But to kind of grow up and go from working together on a real estate team to now leading one together, that's the most exciting part about it from the ground level. And then our team, we're currently in Philadelphia, South Jersey, and Wilmington, Delaware, that little pocket, down here in the greater Charlotte market and South Florida. But we're working on growing that throughout the country as far as where our team is located. But we're doing deals in 50 states. We're advising clients on mostly office, retail, and industrial leases, but we'll transact anywhere that there's a deal to be had. It just depends on how involved we can be based on our licenses versus advising. I guess advising versus representing. It just depends on where we're at.
That's awesome. Now I want to pause on this one for a minute because you and Ange playing lacrosse together
Right.
is I've gotten to know you guys better. The heart of an athlete has shown up so much in your team, and you guys have figured out what that means in your business. When I say you guys are athletes in the mindset of your team, what do you think that means for you?
I think when I think back to college athletics, especially because in youth sports and high school sports, like you can kind of just show up, and if you're talented, and yeah, I mean, if you're talented, you'll get it done. Especially in some sports in some areas of the country, like lacrosse in South Jersey. If you're just athletic and love the game and put some time into it, you could be a top player in South Jersey, especially back when I played. But when I got to college and I was only playing Division II, I realized that the intensity level went up a ton, but the preparation level went up so much more than that. I mean, yes, the fastest and the strongest players, like those were important, but a lot of it came up here and understanding the game, and we always called it lacrosse IQ. That came through studying plays, watching film, doing the stuff that maybe you didn't want to do. Hitting the gym was fun, right? Like going and getting into the gym was fun. That part was great, but like going for those runs or getting into the playbook and film on a Friday night or a Monday before class, like that's the stuff that no one really wanted to do. But if you did it, you started to love the process. It became a habit that ended up becoming part of your life and something that you kind of fell in love with throughout that time, and then
Mm.
it showed on the field. So for us, taking the stuff that was the hard stuff that we didn't always want to do would show on the field. So it's the same thing in our cold calls and prospecting. I mean, no one wants to call 50 people on a Monday morning, but if you do it and you
Says you.
yeah, right. Yeah, unless you're Alicia Shepherd. But if you seriously, if you take the time to do it, you sharpen the axe and you practice something like that, you can really get to a point where it becomes almost second nature, and that's when you hit like the mastery point. That's what I would call
Well, it's when you evolve, when it starts to feel good,
it. Yeah.
is when you start to realize, like, oh dang, I've put in my time on the field. I've put in my time in the prep work and in the learning.
Yep.
And when you stop drudging it, that's when the payoff happens.
Yeah.
It,
It's so
it's
true.
it's fun to watch. I mean, in the coaching programs I run and even on my own teams over the years, it's the biggest payoff is when you watch that agent that has been in the weeds of the shit of like the research and the calling and the hanging up and the rejection, and you see that moment where like they get their first win, and that's a good payoff, right? But then they keep going, and then they have that first week where they kind of hit their stride, and then that's the payoff. And
Yep.
then you see that first month where their income starts to turn around, then you see that first quarter where they really start, and then you just see their like momentum pick up, and that payoff where they get out of the drudge and into like their career. That is so rewarding. And
100.
I think that's like that's where you get to be the player coach, right? Where you get to stay on the field, but you're watching your athletes pay off a little bit.
Yep. And I
Where
feel like,
where does it suck to be the player coach? Coach?
well, I was gonna say, right, you hit on the rewarding part. The part where it sucks, I would say, is when you're still a really good player. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm someone that I feel like I'm one of the top brokers in the game that does what I do. I mean, office tenant rep specifically. And, as far as
I
getting
think on
the
the East Coast, you guys, from like a boutique and entrepreneurial standpoint, I think it's kind of hard to look up and find many teams that are as nimble as you guys that perform at the level you guys do nationally. Yeah.
that definitely. And I feel like from my angle, I know that if I was at a different firm and my only job was to close, I could make a lot of deals happen. And it's something that I'm confident about or confident in. But with that challenge of it, knowing that I'm still someone that can definitely play the game and play at a high level as far as actually going out and transacting deals, I've just compartmentalized it. And I realized that rather than saying, well, maybe I should just be a player or maybe I should just be a coach, I can actually be a great player coach if I have the right leverage to bridge that gap. So the right executive assistant in place who's very aligned, very driven, understands where I want to go, understands my goals. That's been a huge help. And I finally found that person. But then also having the right team that understands, hey, I'm available at these certain times for you all, and these times don't change, but I do need to play the game too. I'm not available every second that you guys call. It's just not realistic. But if you can find one of my 4 available blocks throughout the day and it's not so hot of an issue that you need to answer it right in that second, if it can wait 45 minutes or an hour and a half, there's probably another block where I'm available. Grab time with me, and then I can be
Yeah,
it.
but that's the learning curve that you have to go through as like the coach, right? Is learning that when their feet are on fire because they found a lead and they feel like the world is revolving around that opportunity, helping them learn that like it's going to be okay if we breathe for 90 minutes while I finish my
And
prospecting.
it's easier to say that on a podcast with you than to practice
Yeah.
it. We
Oh,
just went through a
100%. Because your
situation.
guy's all puppy dogged at your like at your door back here behind you, and you're terrified they're gonna go like cry to mom and dad, and you're gonna have a parent calling you at the end of the day. And I shit you not, I've had that happen.
I
You're gonna have a
bet.
parent calling you at the end of the day around
But we
why
just
you
went
didn't pick
through
up their kid's lead.
we just went through the situation with me as a player like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Without getting into specifics, like my world was on fire for the first time in a really long time. And I hadn't felt that feeling in like 5 years.
Terrifying.
And I panicked. I panicked. And it happens. And like that's just part of that's just part of the nature of the
Yeah.
business. It shows that you care. And I love that. I love the intensity and truly people that care. Because a lot of people say that they care, but they care more about what they're doing on Friday, right? But it's easier said than done. But that's probably my biggest challenge is still finding the path between player and coach.
I don't know that it's ever like explicitly clear lanes though. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like those
sure.
lanes are always going to have a little bit. It's like watching like a really good F1 race, and I'll pick F1 over NASCAR any
Good.
day.
Thank you.
Come for me, I don't care.
Although
It's
I
like
live in
having
the
a
world of NASCAR now, 9 NASCAR teams are based in Mooresville, where I live. I'm still
I'm
an
so
F1
sorry.
fan over NASCAR.
F1's way better. Dear podcast world, don't hate me for that. But it is. There's left and right turns. But so it's like watching a really great F1 driver. Like they're going to stay mostly in that lane, but every once in a while there's a slight maneuver that pulls them inside or out. And that's where the race is won, is
Yep.
in that really elite decision making between lane changing.
Yep.
And that for someone in your seat, that's where the race is won, is how do you make those elite decisions to flip between those? And I mean, now you add on to it, Ty, you've got the third lane of being this national leader
Yep.
that, across KW commercial, we've got you leading masterminds and kind of being the leading voice for those agents that we have in the tenant representation space. That's a whole nother layer of responsibility for how do you help those agents grow. And you've done some really cool things to help get them to think bigger about their businesses, to think more as business owners and not just as agents, which I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm definitely proud of where we're going. I mean, I guess I'm proud of how far we've come, and I'm excited for where we're
Yeah.
going. But when I look at where we are, in my 5th year with KW now, from when even you and I met, which was the beginning of year 2 for me, we've come a long way as a company. You've come a long way as a leader. I've come a long way as someone that's taken, more and more of KW and put it into my heart. I was someone at the beginning, again, when I was a player, I didn't care what jersey I was wearing. I just wanted to set records, right?
Yeah.
But now I realize I'm in the right place for it, and I'm leading within as well. Not to the level you are, but feels good to kind of have my own responsibilities there too.
Yeah. I think that's true for a lot of us when we come to KW. Like when I first made the shift here, it was literally like I didn't care about the jersey. I just wanted the freedom to do what I wanted to do with my business, which I wasn't finding at the brokerages I was at before. And this was like the place I could hang it and do it in California, at least at like a financial model that just was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of freedom. But as you lean in, which I was very resistant to in the beginning, as you lean in, you start to realize like, oh crap, there's everything I feel like I'm having to bang my head on a wall and figure out like I've solved that. And that's not to make this like a banner cry
It's
for
not.
KW commercial, but it's rare that I have another leader with KW commercial on here with me. So it's banner cry on accident. Sorry guys. Woohoo. Kool-Aid.
Well, it's the same thing I've realized in other businesses. So I just had my first one this morning, but I had a board of directors call where I now have one person in a seat with every business that I have, and I have several. I have more than what we just mentioned here. We start off the week on a Monday now with each person in that each seat on a call, and I basically said today, it was our first one. The reason this call was here is because I finally decided to admit that I can't do this all on my own, and that other people's talent is a lot more important than me trying to take over the world. I think of it now as a race. So I have a baton. I ran the first lap. I passed that baton. I want them to run 8 laps. Now we're 9 laps in. Hand the baton back to me if it's even needed, and I'll do that 10th lap, or I'll just tell you to finish the 10th lap. And that's where I got to be better, or I'm focusing on being better as a leader and as a creative and as an entrepreneur, because there's no way that some of these massive entrepreneurs that run 5 companies are setting up email addresses in them. You know what I
No,
mean?
no way. And you can't have your hands in the weeds equally of every company at the same time.
Yep.
That's one of the pieces that I get. You probably get this quite a bit too, that I get popped with a bunch of like, how do you do so much? It's like, well, I'm not doing the equal amount of work in every single thing at the same time.
Exactly.
Different things need your bandwidth at different times. So in the
Yep.
commercial space right now with leasing time, I want to kind of bring you back there for a second. In the leasing space, if I'm a business owner and I'm looking at the overall economy, I'm looking at the trajectory of like what the now through the end of the year looks like. It's August 4th, 2025. What do you think I should be paying attention to if my lease is maybe coming due in the next 12 months?
So the market, I'm assuming that if your lease is coming due in the next 12 months, that you signed a lease 5 years or more ago, right? So you signed it.
5 or yeah,
Right.
like
But
somewhere in that
probably,
range.
if I'm
Yeah.
talking to a big business leader, probably a longer term lease, probably at least 5 years ago. So
But you
you,
got to remember 80% of the businesses out there are mom and pop businesses.
that's
They're
true.
not big business leaders.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now I'll more generalize it. The world's changed so much in the last 3 to 5 years, uh, in a million different ways, but specifically around uh, lease rates and where they've gone in lease terms. The next lease that you sign will be the most important lease that you sign, because you're able to reset a lot of terms that we as tenant reps or as tenants have lost control of for the decades before that, because commercial real estate was on such a tear, especially in office space. So personal guarantees, right? These were everywhere before. Now, not seeing nearly as many because, again, tenant leverage.
So if my
More
landlord asks for it, it doesn't mean it's just an expectation I have to give one.
No, or it's negotiable, right? Like if it's a 5 year lease you're signing, like maybe you guarantee the first year, or maybe you guarantee the first 2 years and part of the commissions and tenant improvement allowance. Like there's no blanket statement for it. Your tenant improvement allowance, if you're going into a new space, should be higher than it's ever been before, even though the landlord's facing the highest construction costs they face ever. It's just the market that we're in. Base rental rates, you need to have someone that understands the data, us, whoever, who's in commercial real estate, looking at those rates. Because sure, I could ask, I'll use a residential example. I could ask $700,000 for my home because I bought it for 500. I'm just giving a general example. But if the market doesn't support that, it doesn't support that. So when you see these asking rents, they're hoping for the unrepresented group or the uneducated group to come in and say, oh yeah, we'll pay that rent. But in all reality, no deals are getting done at that rate all around there. The market in general has just changed so much in the last three to 5 years, that having a professional on your side has never been more important, especially when the professionals aren't charging you. I've never had a tenant pay me for my services ever. I've done a couple hundred deals. Yeah, the landlords are generally compensating, or on my side, I've done things pro bono because it's not your responsibility to pay. It is your responsibility to reach out if you are a business leader and get an expert's opinion as you're going through probably your second largest expense behind your payroll, which is your occupancy expense.
And you have the right. This is the piece that blows my mind. How many tenants don't slow down to realize they have the right to do this in a renegotiation
Of
process?
course,
When they have a renewal, you're not just committed to like the landlord said it, so I have to do it. It's not like your apartment when you were like 16, well, no
yeah,
16-year-old has an apartment. If you're
18.
16 and had an apartment, it's been a while. When you're, in your early 20s, you actually can go and responsibly negotiate this. You can bring someone to the table to do it with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I
Yeah.
think that I'm not gonna say the name of it, but if you go on Google and you're just searching for property and then you click one and try to start negotiating from there, you've already lost.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
already lost.
That's a great like red flag on the field. Don't leverage Google. That's like going to WebMD when you have a cold. It will tell you you're dying of AIDS.
Yeah. Oh,
Same
here's a
thing.
great space for you. Way too expensive because you found it
Yeah.
on Google and you didn't come in represented.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's say I don't have my lease coming due, but I'm not happy with my terms and I've got forever left on my lease. Do I have an option?
There's the opportunity to do what we call a blend and extend. So basically
What does that mean?
renegotiate your current deal with you staying in the same space but on different terms. So I got 3 years left on my lease. If I love the space, I know I want to stay. I'm willing to stay 5 or more. We can actually come in and negotiate other parts of that lease in exchange for term, like lease.
So I could come and engage someone like you or another company to come and start negotiation with my landlord before my lease is due. Just because my lease isn't due today doesn't mean I can't start a negotiation period earlier.
It's like anything else. If I have a 30-year mortgage and I'm in year 11 of my mortgage, I can refinance that. I could sell my home, right? Like I'm not,
You're not
I've said
stuck
this,
stuck.
I said this on a recent podcast, but I want to say it again. If you take the world for the way it is and you just accept it and say, well, that's the way the world is, like you will get stomped on in business and probably life. Like if that is your understanding of the world and from your commercial lease to just like, hey, I'm not gonna get up and go for that run. Like, hey, things are the way they are and it's all good. You're extremely naive and you're going to get rolled over. And that's whether you're getting rolled over in your lease negotiation, not keeping yourself in shape and slowly but surely becoming less fit, or anything else. Spending habits, it could be applied to anything. But if you take the world for the way it is at face value, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well said. That's very well said. Okay. What if I have a business? I am interested in taking out my first lease, but I feel lost in the sauce and I have no idea how to get started. What does it cost to get started with a company like yours?
It doesn't cost anything. I mean,
I love that
well,
answer. Every
yeah,
single time you say it, it makes my
right.
heart just glow. I love that answer for any, because again, 80% of businesses in America are mom and pop owners,
Yep.
are small businesses. And I think so many times they think that they have to bootstrap it in their garage or that taking out their first lease, they must go do by themselves, or they have to only talk to the sign that's on the building, which is
Yep.
the fastest way to have the worst lease possible for you. That
Yep.
name
It's
on the
actually
building
worse
is
than Google.
negotiating for the landlord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I love that. What have I not asked you about leasing that people should be asking more?
Let me think here. I think renewal options, like what are renewal options? Because at the
What
end
are renewal options, Day?
at the end of the day, leases will end, right? There's an expiration on that lease. So whether it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever it is, that lease will end. And what's next, right? Like what's next once the lease expires? Because every lease is going to expire. There's an expiration date on it. So whether it's 3, 5, 7, 10 years, we need to understand what's going to happen at the end of that lease. Do you have options to renew in that current space? Two options to renew for 5 years each, another 10 years on the horizon where you can stay in that space, or none? Because if so, maybe that'll change how you think about how much you're going to, fit out the space once you're in there and how much you're going to change and modify because you don't have any right to stay there. And the landlord can go release that to the next company at $10 more a square foot than what you're paying for. So that's something to really think about as you're going through this. What are your renewal options and how long can you stay? because that should really change how you negotiate the initial term.
I love that. I love that. Ty, thanks for joining us today, man.
Of
From your
course.
businesses to your leadership to everything we needed to know that we maybe didn't know around leasing options that we have. Thanks for joining us on the Commercial Blueprint, Ty. See you on the
Thank you.
next one.
Sounds good.